This is Haikou, the capital of China's Henan province. It's home to more than 2 million people, but not even in the country's top 50 by population. And yet, despite being a small city by China's standards, it's still full of tall buildings, including skyscrapers, all of which have been built since 2000. But that's all about to change. The recent ban on the construction of super tall buildings across China has been significantly expanded, and now even small skyscrapers in places like this will be forbidden. Oh, and there's been a tightening of restrictions in China's biggest cities too. So what's caused the nation with more skyscrapers than anyone else to make such a dramatic U-turn? You might remember our video from July 2020 responding to a pretty extraordinary bit of news coming out of China. The country's Ministry of Housing and Urban Rural Development had just banned the construction of buildings over 500 metres in height and placed heavy restrictions on those planning to go over 250 metres.
Entire cities designed to look like Paris, Venice, London, even Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
It also put a stop to the copycat architecture craze, which saw large and slightly weird replicas of landmarks from around the world pop up in several cities.
The Eiffel Tower! Look at that place!
Despite some analysts predicting its skyscraper obsession would calm down at some point, the fact that China would contribute no further to the list of the world's tallest buildings, which it dominates, came as a shock to many. And yet it's another government announcement made in October 2021 where things get really interesting. Because now, cities with populations under 3 million won't be able to build skyscrapers at all. Going taller than 150 metres, the height at which a building officially becomes a skyscraper will no longer be allowed. If that wasn't all, larger cities will be limited to 250 metres, less than half the height of China's tallest buildings. Now, special exemptions may still be given if a small city really needs a new skyscraper, but they absolutely definitely cannot go above 250 metres. Likewise, a bigger city could go higher than that if it has a convincing case, but if it wants to go over 500 metres, then forget it. No more Shanghai Towers or Ping An Finance Centres, and that's final. There are even new rules to follow past the 100 metre mark. To go higher than that, a building will need to meet certain seismic and fire safety requirements. The question then is, why? Wasn't China getting by just fine before? Didn't its skyscraper boom help it achieve those remarkable rates of development that it's enjoyed since the 1980s? Well, not everyone was that stunned by these new measures. In fact, some experts kind of saw it coming.
I'm not surprised at all that these new rules came in, because in the past few years, Chinese government clearly start to pay more attention to the building quality and also the characteristics of Chinese cities.
Dr. Fei Chen is a senior lecturer at the University of Liverpool's School of Architecture in the UK. She specialises in urban design and public space.
In the past more than 3 decades, as you know, the urbanization speed in China was astonishing and really rapid. And in that process, a lot of buildings were built by speed, really, so not in a high quality and high standard. So Chinese governments have noticed this problem.
Those concerns about quality have only grown, not helped by incidents like this in May 2021, where footage of a skyscraper in Shenzhen shaking uncontrollably went viral. Officials are also keen to prevent more so-called vanity projects, where buildings are constructed more to make a statement than meet an actual need. Those buildings occasionally result in more floor space than could ever realistically be filled, and designs that arguably give little consideration to the surrounding area. There's the really extreme cases too. Some cities are now stuck with half-built skyscrapers caused by major financial problems during their construction, like Golden Finance 117, a story we've told before on this channel. Then there are the environmental reasons, like the high wind pressures and urban heat island effect that many skyscrapers create around them, as well as the added strain they can place on a city's transport system.
Another concern is also a social concern as well, because all those buildings mostly are out of context, because Chinese cities still had a long history of development, and most of them still have a lot of historical buildings in it, and most of them are low rise.
Focusing more on small cities which haven't been through the same massive development yet ensures they don't also become packed with tall buildings which simply aren't needed. But while the new rules make it clear what you mustn't do, there's not a lot of detail on what you should do instead. Dr. Shen believes this is because Chinese cities differ greatly between regions, which would make it difficult to take a one-size-fits-all approach.
The thing about China is that it's a big country, and the development level are so different from city to city, and their historical remains are so different from city to city. So it's really hard in a central government issued document to see what you should do.
Instead, local authorities, planners and architects are encouraged to decide that for themselves, ensuring that what they come up with works within the current setting, rather than going for extreme heights, wacky designs, or both. It all seems to make sense, but why is this happening now? And does the timing have anything to do with another situation in China that caught the world's attention in 2021?
It's called Fairyland, but it feels like a ghost town. It's more than $300 billion in debt and has defaulted on 2 overseas bonds.
We're talking, of course, about the ongoing real estate crisis, which has seen developers like Evergrande, one of the biggest in China, struggle to pay off massive debts, sell their housing stock, and access new financing.
It has a lot to do with the economic changes in this current situation. In the past few years, they started to encourage the circular economy within the country because they don't see the high international trading is a sustainable way in the future. There's a lot of ghost towns. They build residential buildings, but nobody buying it especially in the inland cities.
The new rules can't change what's already happened, but they could help prevent further struggles like this from happening again in the future. Although it's a complex issue that height restrictions alone can't solve. Overall, the response has been mostly favourable. The fact we'll never see another Chinese megatall might make some a bit sad, but it's probably the right decision. Going forward, smaller cities will need to find other ways to put themselves on the map. China's insatiable growth is seemingly now maturing into a new phase, one where the architectural and economic integrity of its cities matters more than ever before. If you enjoyed this video and you want to get more from the definitive video channel for construction, make sure you're subscribed to the B1M.